Mental health has become an issue because of the shooting, and the number of those that are in the nation are a handful relative to the real mental health issues, which are across the board. For example, about 40% of the population of the El Paso County jail has mental health issues. So it's really a pervasive issue which increases the jail population, and it's bad for the people. Have you thought about what might be done in the state to help with that? And you may not have the answer yet, but it is a pervasive issue that's just happened to recently get a lot of press. And if you have any input on that, appreciate it.
You know, I can tell you this, mental health is a very complex issue.
It is.
And it's complex because we're dealing with individuals, right? It's not the same for everyone. You know, complicated problems, you can kind of focus in it and find a solution, and it applies to everything. But this is complex because we're dealing with humans, and we don't know what luggage, we don't know what trauma they've dealt with, and those types of things. But I do agree that we need to make sure that we have a safety net for them, that we have an opportunity to find out what is going on, because there's a lot of troubled minds in Colorado and across the country. And it doesn't necessarily start with a young generation. It continues. You know, I had a little brother that passed away last year. I call him little. He was 52. He was younger than I was. But, you know, my mom had German measles when she was expecting. So he never was able to speak. He was never able to see. He was never able to hear. You know, so I learned the importance of, you know what, when there are people that are struggling, you know, and his was a physical disability, but mental health is also can be very decapitating as it pertains to being able to be successful in the community. We have to have compassion for those people. We need to bring them under our wing and make sure that we can take care of them. You know, I'm not the expert by any stretch of the imagination, and I never will be. But what I do have is the ability to bring in the experts so we can talk about this. And it's not about just throwing money at the high-end title. It's how do we really make an impact? You know, and I think at the end of the day, if we work on it, I'm a firm believer when there's a will, there's a way. But it's going to take all of us. And it is a sad situation when we are seeing the family being broken up. You know, to your point, most people that are incarcerated come from single families. You know, they don't have a role model as a father or whatever. And so we need to make sure that we somehow strengthen that so that we can prevent more of the mental health issues. And I'm not one to prescribe drugs. I'm not one to say, hey, let's give them a pill that's going to really stop them from functioning. And that's a lot of things that happen, right? So that's the best that I can offer you right now, because it's a very complex issue, but it is something that we need to pay attention to.
It is. Jail is not the right place for a large number of them, and the state does not have the facilities, and not everybody needs to be in a
That's
facility.
correct.
But jail is not the right place
Right.
for many of them. Some of them are real felons. So just something for you to think about, and as you go through the campaign, you might want to think about it.
Well, definitely.
Okay?
I just want to chime in a little bit on that because I have a daughter that has Down syndrome. She's 33, and right now in many states, they don't allow for a relative to get assistance to support that individual, and they've also closed down a lot of institutions. So now a lot of these folks are homeless on the street.
Yes.
Right. So we need to look at, and I really don't like government programs, but the government will, okay, like my daughter, for example, if we turn her over to the government, they just take her because they get a lot of money for that from the federal government. And they'll put her in an institution or a home or something like that. But they won't allow for the parent to provide for the individual and get some kind of assistance. Like my wife and I were just talking this morning about having a weekend home for these individuals, like my daughter, right? So that we can maybe get away for a weekend instead of being a full-time caregiver, right? So things like that are common sense things, and it really wouldn't cost us any extra money, but it would go a long way in helping those individuals, especially if they have family members that would be willing to take care of them.
And I agree with you. The government can't provide the answer, but the government should be able to enable
Yes.
things that work.
Yeah,
So
I
that's-
don't count on
I want
the
the
government for
government
much.
doing it, I want them to provide enabling
Right.
processes to.
Sure.
So,
Right.